Hey yo, what is up everybody? Zoel the Wolf here, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Nerd Talk. As of recording right now, we are about 2 days out now, from the release of the Resident Evil 4 remake, and so when this video goes up, it'll still be about 2 days. So, in honor of that, we already talked about the OG Resident Evil 4, but why not talk about my other favorite Resident Evil, one of my other favorite Resident Evils, Resident Evil 5. So that's what we're going to do today. Nonetheless, strap in, get you some popcorn, and let's have some fun. So let's roll that intro and hop right into the video. Resident Evil 5, the continuation after Resident Evil 4, bringing back old characters such as Chris Redfield, introducing new ones as Sheva, bringing back Wesker as a villain, and just honestly, a hell of a good time. I love Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 for me was probably the first Resident Evil game that I really got a chance to play and dive into, even before Resident Evil 4. So I was kind of mixed backwards on them. So I got into like Resident Evil 5 first and then Resident Evil 4. But I still love Resident Evil 4 through and through. You know, I've played it just as much as I've played 5. I've probably played 4 more at this point. But still, nonetheless, Resident Evil 5 is an awesome game. So let's talk story. Recap. Story in Resident Evil 5, honestly, is a pretty simplistic story. Basically, all that goes on is that in Africa, there is rumors of a doomsday project known as the Ouroboros. And Chris Redfield is sent in to investigate along with Sheva Alomar, who is an African resident. And so they are sent in to investigate. Turns out everyone's pretty much infected. Wesker's still alive. So they go on, basically to go and stop it. And that's what is going on. It may not necessarily be a whole lot, but the story is pretty good in its own. Bringing back characters such as Wesker, which, honestly, you could say what you want about Wesker in this game. I personally love him. I'll never get tired of him saying his lines, "There you are," or "Where are you hiding?" whenever you fight him in the boss fights, because those are always funny to me. There you are! So again, yes, the story is pretty simplistic. It's not necessarily like... It doesn't necessarily go too far away from anything that Resident Evil 4 did. It kind of sticks to something similar. I mean, it's not a rescue mission, but it's just in that format of like Chris and Sheva are the only ones really kind of there. There is like Delta Team and Alpha Team, but we don't really see them that much. It's mainly just Chris and Sheva throughout the whole thing. They kind of go and do their own thing, go from area to area. The main thing is that Chris is in it personally because Jill is still alive. If you know, you know. Jill is there. All that good stuff. And then, of course, they fight Wesker at the end. Kill Wesker. Bada bing, bada boom. Done. Again, not necessarily a whole lot to discuss in the story department, but there is one thing I do want to talk about, and that's kind of the controversy that comes around this game. I remember back whenever this game came out, a lot of people... There was a lot of controversy to say. A lot of people, I think, were upset because of the fact that it takes place in Africa and because you were shooting a lot of black people and stuff like that. But honestly, the variety of enemies is quite a bit more than you would think. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see why the controversy was there. One of the ways I like to try and think about it is... thinking about it in a lore standpoint, whenever, Umbrella was in Raccoon City wasn't it's not like a city like New York or something like that, it's not like a huge city or anything like that, and so it makes sense Umbrella was able to work kind of undercover there and all that, and the same thing happens with kind of Resident Evil 5. You have to take in consideration that, for them to do the experiments that they're doing, because, it's very illegal, and stuff like that, and working on bioweapons and turning people into monsters. I mean, they're going to be doing that in places that are, poor and not very well taken care of, as we see throughout the game of Resident Evil 5. The places, they look kind of nice and interesting sometimes, but you can tell they're run down, they're kind of old, out of the way, and that's how that would be. That's how that goes. So I don't really understand the controversy. Even whenever you get to the sections with the tribe, I mean, that's just like another thing. That's just like, it's a tribe. It's a whole tribe of people. And so it makes sense that they all are like, the same kind of, they're all black in the tribe whenever you're there. And like, you're not really going to see much different variety there. But like in the village and stuff, and even in the military island, there's quite a bit of variety in the enemies. And so I've never really understood the controversy. I don't know if it's just because it takes place in Africa or what, or anything like that. I think it's dumb. I just think when it comes down to like a story is a story, and you kind of have to let it be that, and sometimes that's what ruins things, is people look so much into it, and it's just kind of like, bro, it's crazy. Anyway, though, that kind of does that with the controversy and the story. Like I said, not a whole lot to talk. The story, again, just simple. Africa, Umbrella's back doing experiments. Wesker's there. Chris comes, works with Sheva. They work together, do all that. I will say there's one thing I wish that we could know what Sheva is up to nowadays, because we haven't seen her since Resident Evil 5. And honestly, I personally really like Sheva as a character. And so I really would love to see her again, come back in another Resident Evil game, even if they do like a Resident Evil 5 remake. I don't think that's necessary, but if they did do that, that would be cool. But even if they did like some kind of continuation, I would just like to see Sheva again. And of course, also we have the gameplay. And of course, if you know Resident Evil 4, you're going to be very familiar in Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5's gameplay is very similar to Resident Evil 4. Still having to stand still while shooting, can't move and shoot. You have a laser instead of a reticle, unless you're playing on PC. But I didn't. I was on PlayStation. But nonetheless, it's very similar. There are a few things that are updated. Like, instead of having to constantly go into the inventory and out, you can kind of do it more on the fly now, which is very nice. And another thing that's kind of cool with the inventory system is the fact that you do have Sheva with you. And, she's a much better AI partner than Ashley in some ways. I mean, I've said before, I don't really have a problem with Ashley from RE4. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people, we all joke about it, bitch about it. But Ashley's not that bad of an AI, and Sheva's not that bad of an AI partner either. She's not the brightest sometimes, but honestly, she can take care of herself. She gets to use guns, and what's really cool with her is how you can share the inventory between you, or between Chris and her, and being able to switch on the fly whatever you need, give weapons to each other, give herbs to each other, request ammo from her. You can even tell her to go attack and she'll pull out a different gun and start going to attack. So it was pretty cool and pretty unique in that aspect, and I really like that. Of course, too, you got like an updated just roster of weapons in this game too. I honestly really enjoy the Resident Evil 5 weapons. They're maybe not my favorite, but I certainly enjoyed them quite a bit. I really did, along with also the levels. Resident Evil 5 has some of my favorite levels, but also some of my least favorite levels. I'm not the biggest fan of some, like the boat level where you're on the little speedboat. I'm not the biggest fan of the military section before the Wesker fight. I mean, they're okay, but I kind of felt the same way in Resident Evil 4. I wasn't the biggest fan of like the military section all that much. I mean, like, I run through it and play it, because it's there, and it's not, like, terrible or anything in either game, but they're just personally not my favorite for it. But at least in RE5, I think it works a little more of what's going on, because it fits more with the story, whereas in RE4, it felt very kind of random just to go to a military island to save Ashley, But nonetheless, like again, Resident Evil 5... really, really good story, really good gameplay, really fun. Again, similar to RE4, so if you know RE4, you know RE5. And despite whether or not, if you don't like RE5, just like some people don't like RE4 because it goes more action, and RE5 is definitely full-on action. I can understand that if, you're more for that horror aspect, but again, like I've said with the RE4 game, I think at least you should appreciate RE5 for what it is, in the sense of just, it's a good video game, man. And that's what I do with this channel, like when I make these videos, I want to talk about games and talk about games that I like and enjoy, but a lot of what I talk about is kind of taking games that I do enjoy, but also just I try to talk about it in a general scope of a general audience, you know, instead of trying to be very specific. I'm not very niche like that, at least not right now. But like, I try to think more of like, just what in general of what I like as a gamer and what I know other people like as gamers, and try to talk about the games in the way of how you can enjoy them that way. And RE5 definitely falls under that. So, you know, I would say, if you want, play RE5 here in 2023, because it is still one hell of a good time. It's fun to still go through those missions, those levels, to experience just the story. The story, again, is just really, really good. I really like it. I love the RE5 story. Sheva's an awesome character. I love Chris. Huge shout out to the voice actors there, especially for Chris, because that man's is an awesome voice actor. He also voices, you know, Batman in Arkham Origins. He voices Aiden in Dying Light 2, the main antagonist Crane in Dying Light 1. You know, dude's just awesome voice, and it works well for Chris. And of course, Chris, you know, punching boulders. So, we got that. But nonetheless, guys, that's kind of where I'm going to end it. I just wanted to talk about RE5 before RE4 remake got here. So, again, RE5 is just a good time, and I think, you know, if you want some, like, Resident Evil before Resident Evil 4 Remake comes out, if you happen to see this, play some Resident Evil 5. Just go play it and enjoy it. Nonetheless, though, that's where we're going to end it, so thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Also, I have a new Twitch account, so come and hang out in the Twitch. We'd be doing streaming a lot of Fortnite, a lot of Rainbow, probably some zombies at some point. Definitely going to be doing some Resident Evil stuff, maybe at some point. But yeah, we're trying to hit affiliate over there while we're trying to still grow over here. But nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.